Okay, so I'm gonna do yet another challenge. So we set up our location to save our URL state when we go ahead and we click on an object. So what that means, and I'll just go over it again. When we go ahead and we click on a project container, which is one of these, we save something called a state. And this state is almost like using it's almost like using regular use state, but it's part of the link import from React Router DOM. So when we save state in here, we go ahead and we put it inside of an object called search. And what search is going to take is the type filter. So the type filter is over here and it comes from shop. And this would have probably been a better place to start. But the type filter is basically our search parameter. So a search parameter meaning type equals, let's say, test. And that is a search parameter. So when we go ahead and we have a search parameter like wearables, we save this into a variable called type filter. And we pass the type filter down into our mapped products or our product component. And I am passing the entire search parameter, which just means everything in this parameter, but I just named it type filter. And then inside of this file, what I'm going to do is save that state of the type filter to a string. So basically what that means is when this is clicked, the state is going to be saved, the URL state that is. And we can obtain that state using the useLocation hook, which we also had to import. So with using the useLocation, we go ahead and console.log it and we get another object. So let's just do that. And this object contains some information. So it contains the path name, which is just the current path that we're on. It has the search, which is just whatever parameter, let's say, is in here. So if we say type equals test, that should show up for our search parameter. And then we also have the state, which is null now that I'm seeing maybe I replaced it by doing the search parameter. So let's just go back and let's put since and let's click on something. And now if we open it, we should see our search is type of since. So if we go back here, this is exactly what I did here. And what's cool is that if we refresh the entire page and we go back in here, we keep our state. And that's exactly what we wanted, because now when we're inside of our product detail, instead of just going back to all the products or to the previous directory using the double dots, we can now do this quick challenge real quick. And the challenge is to modify the link prop to send the user back to the previous page with the search params if they exist. So we're gonna want to have to use some type of conditional rendering, I'm imagining. And basically we just have to send the user back to where if they click wearables, they click a wearable and they go back. I still want to have it filtered by the wearables. So let me go ahead and just try to complete this challenge. So what I'm thinking is when I say to, I want to just go back to, let's just say, I don't think this will work. Don't think that's going to work, but I just want to test out what's going to happen. So yeah, it shouldn't take me back anywhere. Well, first things first is we want to get the state, and the state is going to be the search. So I want to get search as well. And that's going to give me back this, this type filter that we have up here at the top. And if we go back to shop, we see that we have this URL right here. And this is the URL we want to go back to. So what I'm thinking I can do here is just write /shop. And then go ahead and put, let's say this is a const. and then let's just say previous filter. I'll just name it that for now. Maybe there's a better name. And I just want to go ahead and enter our previous filter. So when we click on this and we go back, we should keep our previous filter. And let's say we go in skincare, click an item and go back. We should stay in basically the correct URL that we put in. And if we clear the filters and we go back to all of our items, but I want to kind of maybe conditionally render this. And the reason being is that I want to say if previous filter is true, then we want to go ahead and do that. And then otherwise, if it's false, I just want to go back a directory like we were previously. And I think that's a little bit more implicit. So we're basically saying if the previous filter is true, meaning we have something inside of the location state search, then we want to go back to the previous filter inside of the URL. Otherwise, just go back a directory. And it should work perfectly. So yeah, it works perfectly, and I think that's pretty much it for that challenge. Okay, so I'm going to do a second part, and this challenge is to conditionally render the back button. So when we click on a product and that product has a type filter, instead of saying back to all products, I want to go ahead and say back to wearables, or I guess, how would he put it? How would Bob put it? Back to luxury bands instead of back to all bands. So I want to say back to wearables or back to scents. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. I think the easiest way would just be to wrap this in quotations and go back here. Let's go back. And this is probably not going to be the best way to do it. So I may not keep this method of doing it, but I can just say if the previous filter is true, then we can do that. And if it's false, we can just do something else. So let me see what's going on here. So do a string something. So this is what's weird. I think the best way to do it, because we can say back to wearables and it would say back to wearable products, but the thing is we have 3 different query parameters that we can test for. So what I'm thinking is that the best method is probably going to be a if else statement. So I'm going to say if, and then I guess I can just say const selected filter equals an empty string. And what we can do is we can say if the previous filter is equal to, and if that's equal to, let's say, what's the first filter we're looking for? Let's just say type equals, and this is going to be a string, type equals sent console.log. Let's just say console.log true for now. And so basically, first thing I want to do is I want to see what the previous filter is giving me. So let me reload this here. And I want to console.log our previous filter real quick, if I can. So yeah, so type equals, let's say, wearables. So if so, then I want to return selected filter equals, and then this is probably going to have to be a let. So back to wearables. And okay, that is weird. Okay, that is really weird. I actually don't know why that happened. Hold on, that is weird. So let's just say filter message. Let me make sure I spell that right. Message. So let the filtered message be back to wearables. And then here, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That's gonna take away and take that away. And then instead, we can put our filtered message. So, and then back to wearables. And then if we click on since, we shouldn't get anything. So we're going to say else if, and we're going to say, take this. We're going to say if type equals since, then we're going to open something else up. Then we're going to say the filter message is back to since, or let's say back to all wearables and back to all since. So we can go back, and then we're going to have to do this one more time since we have our type of skincare. And the filtered message for skincare should come up. And then otherwise, our else message is going to be back to all products. So if we clear all of our filters and we click on something, we'll say back to all products. And if we filter out scents, back to all scents. Skincare, it'll be back to all skincare. Wearables, back to all wearables. So that's how I would solve it. I didn't use ternaries because I just thought it would be very hard to read when I nest ternaries. I'm not sure how Bob's going to do it, but I will update if anything is drastically different from what I did. So I just wanted to update here because the way it was done by Bob, I actually quite like. So basically, we could just use our type filter. So one thing we can do here is go here into our console. And you know what's weird is that I'm, pushing this in a weird way, but we can just say our filter is going to equal our type filter. Go inside of our product, and we can add filter up here. And then that's gonna make it long. I actually want to delete one of these because I don't want that to happen. And we can go ahead and put another object inside of our state. So we can go ahead and put our type. We'll just say type. And for our type, we can put in our filter. And basically now when we click and we go up here and I want to console.log our location, we should get two values. So both of them are going to be null. But if we go back here, click on since, and then let's clear this real quick. Click on a item. We should have our search. So this is our entire query parameter, and then this is just the type that we're in. So the type is just gonna return back the filter, and the filter is just basically the type filter. And basically now with this, we can just do some, I guess it's called optional chaining methods. So what we can do is we can, and he did it here, so I'm just gonna look at how he did it real quick. So he says const type equals, and then what we can basically do is he has his location state type. So since we already have our location, all we have to do here is say location.state.type, and let's just console.log this so we see what we're getting back. And we see that we're getting sent. So this is where the conditional or the optional chaining method works. So we'll say if that's true, or I guess we want to check it for it right here. So we want to check for location state. And if it has a type method, then we want to go ahead and use that, sorry. And then otherwise, we want to just say all. So I had to reference him because I just couldn't memorize this because I never used this before. And now, basically, when we get type, if there's a type, we get sense. Otherwise, if there's no type, so let's clear our filters, we should get all. So that's a lot easier than having to use the if else statement. And then now we can basically go ahead and go here and we can just say something like, and I'm gonna comment this out, and I'm gonna say something like, let's grab this, and instead of back to all products, we're gonna put this in here. We're gonna say type, and this should work correctly. So this is going to say back to all products, but now when we're in wearables, back to wearables products. And that is weird because now it's back to wearables products instead of back to just wearable products and then back to Sense products. That is very weird. Back to skincare because just the way I guess my grammar is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep that way of doing it. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to basically just keep this method that I already had. And I'm going to just keep Bob's method as well, just for future reference. So back to all wearables, then back to all, let's see, back to all products. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably just did that wrong. So if I just go back here and back to all products. No, I think it is just wrong. I'm just gonna end this. That's pretty much the way I solved it, and that's pretty much it for those challenges.